You all know how much we love ProCare. We talk about them all the time, pretty much in every episode we record.
Pretty much.
So we are really, really excited to announce.
They're sponsoring the podcast. Yay! Oh my goodness. I'm so excited.
Yes. And we truly believe in their product because we take them every single day. I take their 1-a-day capsule.
Yes. And I take their 1-a-day chewable. It's freaking delicious.
And not only do they have multivitamins, but they have calcium chews.
Yeah.
Delicious calcium chews. The salted caramel is to die for.
Oh, and the cinnamon roll, guys, tastes like a cinnamon roll. Oh my God.
They also have dinner mint, but our favorite
is the dark chocolate for 2 reasons. One, you can have it at nighttime for a treat or make a s'more out of it. We've done it. Freaking bomb.
How cool is that? So go now to procarenow.com and use code OSLP for 10% off.
Alrighty, now go now. What are you waiting for?
Go get your vitamins.
Yeah. Welcome back, OSLP family. Welcome.
You are listening to our Sleeve Life podcast, and this is Kelly.
This is Mel.
And your girl is sick, so if I sound a little nasally, that is why. Melanie got me sick. I'm blaming it all on her.
That's totally fine.
But we are powering through. And we have a fabulous guest on the show today. Her Instagram is the Hormonal Dietitian. Yes. And we want to welcome Melissa on. So say hi to everybody, Melissa.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us and kind of teach us a little bit more about what you do and all of the things that go into that.
Yeah, because I know we've actually interviewed a few girls that have had PCOS, and we saw when we went onto your Instagram, like you help a lot with the understanding of what it is and how it works. So I think we want to dive in kind of there because it's such a big deal in the community.
Absolutely. And, I see a lot of overlap, and I've had a lot of clients who've, either one-on-one clients or in my programs who, have had bariatric surgeries. And so, they kind of find me after the fact.
Right.
Okay. All right. So can you give us a little bit more background of how you got into this, what schooling you have done, all of that?
Yeah. So kind of funny story. I worked in New York City advertising for 15 years. I was, my first major was in English and dance, very random combination landed in the advertising, which is, where most of the unemployable people end up in New York City. And it's just, you've probably seen Mad Men, you've seen, illustrations of what New York City advertising looks like. And, it's not really fiction. That's really what it's like. Like you really understand why people did so much coke in the 80s and advertising. It's just so high stress, so high energy all the time. And, I was working 90, 100-hour weeks. I was traveling all the time. I really, sort of around the point I turned 34, 35, hit my breaking point and was just I have to get out. This career is going to kill me, literally. And so, started investigating, what do I want to do? What would I find fun? What would I find enjoyable? And, what happened was I was sitting in my living room and I'm looking at all my cookbooks and diet books and I've got 4 bookcases full of books on these topics. And I'm I wonder what it would take to become a nutritionist, and actually work with people and start to help people in that way. And so I did some research, and it was really important to me to go the fully credentialed route so that I could practice, in the state, whatever state I lived in. I would be able to be licensed and be able to make those, personalized diet recommendations. So it took a lot longer as an adult going back to school. Took me about 7 years. 4 years part-time, 2 years full-time in person. And then the last year to become an RD, you have to do, it's kind of like with doctors, how they have like a residency program where you get matched to a dietetic internship. That's basically a year of unpaid work and supervised practice. Yeah. So it's a lot. Yeah. So I couldn't do that in New York City, which is how I ended up in New Hampshire, where I am now, where my parents live. And then I met a guy. And so I'm still here in New Hampshire.
I was going to ask if you were still in New York. So that covers that.
Yeah. That is an awesome story, though, to be able to like realize this is not the work for me. Because I think a lot of people get stuck like that. They don't think about like, what can I do? And they start
I do something different.
Yeah. And like looking around at your own house and being like, what do I like to do? And like, yeah, you have 2 cases worth of like cookbooks and all the nutritionist stuff. So why not?
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people will comment about how it's really brave to go back to school as an adult, and it really just changed my whole life, the state I live in and everything. But like, it really, for me, like I view that as survival. It was like, I had to change. Things were not going in a direction that was in any way sustainable,
Yeah.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
Well, and go into a field that you find very rewarding.
Yeah.
That's the best to actually find what you're meant to do.
That too. I mean, if you follow me at all, how much it bothered me working for the man, and like all this work I was doing, and it was like, for what? Like, so now I feel like I use those skills for good and not evil. I try to help people with my skills.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and you do help people. You help a lot of people. Explain to us what you do now. What's your specialty
and where you're at?
Yeah, so I'm an integrative and functional dietitian. So what that means is I'm a registered dietitian, so RDN, and I use an integrative and functional approach. So integrative means I focus on more things than just food, just nutrients in, calories out. We focus on the whole person. So it's a very holistic view that, I end up talking about stress and sleep just as much as I end up talking about nutrition. And the functional medicine is really, instead of trying to address symptoms as they pop up, we're looking further up the line to see what's causing all of these symptoms down below. And so when I started working with women with PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome, I was starting to see some common root causes there. Things like insulin resistance and inflammation and gut imbalances and hormone imbalances, and just, hormone imbalances caused by, lifestyle, like high stress, things like that. So, I was starting to see some patterns. And so by working on those things, instead of working on the symptoms you see, which is like the acne and hair loss and, difficulty losing weight or weight gain, they're all symptoms. They're all downstream symptoms of these upstream root causes. So I work with people in a bunch of different ways. I do one-on-one programs virtually. I'm entirely virtual now, which is nice.
Yeah.
I was mostly virtual before this whole thing happened, but, it was a good excuse to shut the office that I had and just work from home full time. And then I do group coaching programs, and I have an online course, which is really a self-study way to get the information. It's the same information and tools I use with my clients. It's just you're kind of guiding yourself through the process of figuring out which root causes you need to focus on and how to do that. That's really where I share the how on my Instagram account, which is the Hormone Dietitian. I mostly share, a lot of background information, the whats and the whys of PCOS. The hows are really what I do with my clients.
Okay. Can you kind of go a little bit more into how somebody would figure out that they have PCOS?
Yeah. So I'm a dietitian. So diagnosis is actually outside of our scope of practice. So if someone comes to me and they're like questioning whether they have PCOS, and I, maybe look at some labs and it looks like PCOS, we're probably going to treat it like PCOS. But if you're going to get that actual diagnosis, usually it involves starting with your primary care doctor. If you're not getting answers there, elevating it to your GYN. If the labs come back abnormal, they might refer you to an endocrinologist who can also diagnose. So also a lot of times I see a lot of women who are diagnosed in their early 30s. Typically what happens is, maybe they had irregular cycles when they were teens, or maybe they had some symptoms like acne and they got put on the pill and they just kind of stayed on the pill forever. And then, they get married in their early 30s, they go off the pill and they think, oh, I'm going to start trying next year. And then nothing happens, their cycles don't come back, and all of those symptoms that they were covering up for all those years just come raging back. So oftentimes at that point, they're already seeing a fertility specialist. Right. So sometimes it's the fertility specialist who picks up on the fact oh no, this is PCOS and you've had this all your life. You've just not realized it. Yeah.
Interesting, because I don't have a period at all. I think it was kind of like what you were saying. I went on birth control and I got off birth control so that me and my now ex-husband could try to have kids. And I never got a period back. I mean, it's been years since I've had a period, and I had a slight one right after surgery, but I mean, it's been 2.5 years after that. Yeah. And I've never had that one. When I got tested, they said that I didn't ovulate. Is that kind of a symptom of PCOS?
It definitely is. Okay. There are other conditions that can, result in abnormal cycles and lack of ovulation. So, part of the testing that they do when they are diagnosing you with PCOS is ruling out those other conditions that can look like PCOS. Okay. Some of the more common ones are hypothalamic amenorrhea. Hypothyroid can mimic PCOS if your thyroid's low enough that you're not ovulating. High prolactin. Sometimes it's things like, I've had people who have a benign pituitary tumor or something like that, where it's not dangerous, but it's interfering with its ability to make hormones. And so that can throw your cycle off. So, it's really hard to speculate without having had all of the thorough testing done.
So that's why it's so hard to diagnose, because they can mimic other things. That's annoying.
Yeah, a lot of, surprise, all the women's health conditions take 10 years to get a proper diagnosis, know. It's, PCOS is similar to endometriosis in that way. It often takes 2 to 3 doctors and 8 to 10 years to get a proper diagnosis.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's a huge problem. The fact that it's still a problem is ridiculous.
In 2021, it's still a problem.
I mean, we think that it shouldn't be a problem, but apparently they do. I don't understand why. But it takes I just don't understand the business side of it, because a lot of it's money wise. It's but you're wasting all of these years in testing. When do you think you'd want the upfront more? I just don't understand.
I mean, that's where my brain goes.
Yeah.
If you want to get super mad about it, 10 to 20% of women have PCOS, and the amount of research funding that is allocated to PCOS is 0.1%.
Yeah. So nothing.
It's shocking, but not shocking. It's I'm not surprised.
But that does make me mad.
Yeah.
Because are you kidding me?
No, this is why I get mad, Kelly. Because I do tell her like all these random shit that like that are happening, and and I'm like, I get mad, and like this is why, because stupid shit like this, and not even just for just women in general, because it's even worse for women of color, like for them to get diagnosed, and it's fucking ridiculous. It's like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
Like,
I get real mad.
Much worse. I see, with the women of color that I see in my practice, it's much longer to get diagnosed. There's often other issues going on simultaneously that they're not getting answers about, like fibroids are so much higher in that population. And it's just like, they're having irregular bleeding and their doctors are just like, it must be the PCOS. It's like, yeah, no, that's not a symptom. Like, keep testing,
keep going there.
You're not done yet. Like, shut you up.
Yeah.
Essentially. And just say, oh, just go away. You're fine. You're not dying. So just go away.
Yep.
Yeah. Here's the pill. Here's an antidepressant. Like, go away. Leave me alone.
Yes. Can PCOS kind of affect your depression amount, I guess?
Yeah.
That would be
mood disturbances are common with PCOS. So depression and anxiety. I think there's several reasons for that. One of the reasons was, one of the root causes I mentioned was those gut imbalances. And you need a healthy gut microbiome to make all those happy, feel good neurotransmitters. And, if we have imbalanced gut bacteria, that can be one thing contributing to poor mood. But you also have to remember, with PCOS, it's really unfair because unlike a lot of chronic conditions with PCOS, so many of the symptoms are cosmetic. They affect the way you look. So you've maybe always been dealing with acne and facial hair and male pattern hair loss and, weight that won't budge. And so it's very common to have, a lack of body acceptance or body positivity, where you're having this, uncomfortableness in your body. I'm not going to say body dysmorphia, because if you're looking at yourself and you're like, I've got acne, like you're seeing it's an actual thing, but it's, it's cosmetic symptoms that affect the way you feel as a woman and can maybe affect your confidence. And so, it can slide into depression and,
I was going to say, like, what's interesting is that, like, so after I had my kid, I lost a lot of hair right in here, and I was always gaining weight, and I would get checked once a year, did my normal stuff. And anytime I would ask about the hair loss thing, they're like, just happens. It's a hormone thing. Okay. Well, can we fix it? Not really. Okay. Like, no one cared. No, and all they wanted to do was just tell me that, like, go away and you just need to lose weight. Like, that's the deal. Like, no one was testing me any further. Like, it kind of makes me think, like, I wonder if I have PCOS and just didn't know it.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Because I have the hairs. I have the little hairs that are right here. I've always struggled with acne, although my face has gotten so much better. So much better. Yeah. But I still struggle with it. My depression. And then the fertility, the lack. That's a huge red flag. I was not on any birth control for 4 or 5 years. Yeah, never once had even a hint of a pregnancy.
But no one ever brought up, hey, let's test for PCOS.
Nope. No. I didn't even know it was a thing until after I had weight loss surgery.
Yeah, until it's community for me, I didn't even know what it was. I've heard of endometriosis because 2 of my girlfriends have had it, but I've never heard of the other PCOS.
Nope.
No. So since none of us has really heard of this, except for people that have to deal with it, one, what is a hormone? Why is it so important? And then the gut, like bacteria, the gut health. Why is that also so important? Because I hear about it all the time, but no one ever goes into detail.
Yeah. So hormones are basically like chemical messengers in your body. And so sort of starts with your hypothalamus region of your brain. And it's kind of like reading all the signals from inside your body, from outside your body. And it's deciding like what needs to happen. And then your hypothalamus talks to your pituitary gland, which is right next to it. And the pituitary gland is kind of like the conductor of the orchestra. So he's the one like telling your ovaries what to do, telling your thyroid what to do, telling your adrenals what to do. We have so many hormones. Generally when we're talking about hormones in women's health, we're typically talking about the sex hormones, the estrogen that rises in the first half of your cycle, and then the progesterone that rises in the second half of your cycle after ovulation. Okay. We also, as women, make testosterone. We need it for some of those masculine characteristics, like being able to put on muscle or having a good bone density. We need it for sex drive. Like we need testosterone for that. The problem with PCOS is when we make too much of it. So we make too much of those male hormones. And that's what results in those sort of negative male symptoms that we start to see, like the facial hair and the body hair and the, male pattern hair loss that happens. Okay. Other hormones, we've got, all the digestive hormones. We've got insulin, which controls your blood sugar. We've got the thyroid hormones. Your thyroid is like your body's thermostat. So it turns up or turns down your metabolism depending on what's going on. So if your hypothalamus says like, hey, we're pretty stressed, like, let's try to get her to slow down. So what it does is it like turns your thyroid down so that it's trying to get you to rest. But it's just going to make you feel tired, if your thyroid hormone's down. And then we have the adrenal hormones. Those are our, hormones we make. There's a reason we make them. Back when we were hunters and gatherers and we had to survive if a woolly mammoth was charging at us, it's those like fight or flight hormones. And again, it's very natural and we need those in order to sort of surge and like have that burst of energy when we need it. The problem is like with our current lifestyle and that hypothalamus, like it doesn't know the difference between a woolly mammoth charging at you or like running late for work or like having a work deadline or like a stressful conversation. Like it thinks you are in life-threatening danger. And so it's making you crank out these stress hormones. And so when those are chronically high, that can cause problems too.
So high stress levels can be a problem.
Yeah. And a lot of people with PCOS really struggle with adrenal driven PCOS. Like that's especially lean PCOS, which is PCOS that happens in normal or even underweight people. They call it lean PCOS. That's typically very driven by the adrenal hormones.
Okay. All right. And are the symptoms the same for lean PCOS and regular PCOS?
Typically, minus the weight loss, but the weight gain or, difficulty losing weight. But, the women I see struggle with the same symptoms, acne and hair loss, maybe some of the sleep disorders I've seen, very lean women who have sleep apnea and have to sleep with a CPAP. The infertility for sure. So, those adrenal androgens can actually act just like testosterone in your body. So they cause the same kind of symptoms.
What kind of sleeping disorders can fall under that?
Yeah. Insomnia, sleep apnea. There's some research on like circadian rhythm disturbances in women with PCOS. So circadian rhythm is like, when we wake up with the sun and we go to bed when the sun goes down and we sort of align our lives with the sun. And what happens is like, women might have like different melatonin production than women without PCOS have. They might like wake up in the middle of the night. Another one that I see pretty commonly is technically getting enough sleep, like sleeping 8 hours or 9 hours, but still waking up and feeling tired. Like you're not well rested. So I see that a lot too. So the quality of your sleep isn't very good. Like you're maybe not getting down into deep sleep as much as you should.
Well, you just described my sleeping pattern.
That's why I asked. I was like, I have to know.
Yes. I don't sleep. I wake up a lot at night.
Yeah.
So 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And
4
then,
o'clock rock. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock.
and there's some nights where I can't sleep at all. So I'll wake up at like 3 a.m. and then I'm awake until 8 a.m. And then I finally fall back asleep for a couple hours. So I'm not, I mean,
It's
feel
crazy.
like you're describing me right now.
Oh, no. Well, I think there's that thing where like when doctors are in medical school and they're learning about things and they think they have every condition that they're learning about. And, I definitely, when I was first learning about PCOS, I was like, oh, this is me to a T, like, absolutely. But, some of the symptoms that can come with it have other causes, it's like, do I have a chin hair because I have PCOS or because I'm Sicilian? It's like my Nana had the chin hair. So it's like, okay, well, and no, of course I have no testosterone issues. My cycles are like 27 days on the nose, like all my life.
I know it's annoying, right? It's like, I like the fact that it's on time, but then I don't like it that it's on time.
Yeah, I never had on time periods.
No.
Mine were always like, even before I was like, I would go really long time in between and then I would have one and then and then I would go like 14 days and then have another one. And then I would go a really long time. Like it was
Just
never,
go back and forth. It was never.
I could never set a clock by my periods ever.
Yeah. And mine's
you're probably never ovulating regularly. Sounds like.
No, and I don't want kids, so it's fine. I'm good. I don't want any. But I mean, to find out if I have anything other than.
Well, it sounds like we need to have your doctor test your hormones levels is what needs to happen.
You don't want to say that to the hormone dietitian either. Just because, and I'm like super, I'm such a feminist and I just like the fact that women get reduced to our ability or our decision to reproduce or not is something that I'm constantly ranting about. But you're having a regular cycle is actually like a sign of good health. I think, when your cycle's missing, it's kind of like the canary in the coal mine that something else is amiss, like further up the line. And because it's like, if everything were balanced and working fine, you'd be getting regular cycles. And so, and there are risks that come with not having cycles. If you think about, like what the symptoms that start to crop up in menopause, like poor bone density and hot flashes. And we can actually have, there's a higher risk for endometrial cancer and things like that if you're not getting regular cycles. So yeah, definitely dietitian's orders. Go get that checked out and see what's causing that.
ASAP.
I feel like I have a homework to do after this episode is done.
And then I'll text her and be like, reminders. Just get that tested, please.
Just please go in. Yeah.
Always check in with your bestie and ask them how their cycle's going.
That's true because I used to think it was normal because a lot of our girlfriends weren't regular and I was. So I felt kind of odd that I was. Like I knew I was pregnant with my son because I was 3 days late. I was like, something's wrong. Something's up. This is weird. And then, I took the test, took 2 of them. And they all came back positive.
Well, I would hope so since your son is 15 now.
Yes, he is. Well, even just like the summer, it was real weird because I went 2 weeks late. And so me and my husband are freaking out because he had a vasectomy like 5 or 6 years ago and he's been tested. And we're like, what's going on? What's going on? We take the pregnancy test, comes up negative. So I'm like, I guess I'm just stressed. And it really, that's what it was. Because if we literally looked back at what was happening and it was like, oh, I was under stress like a lot. And I'm not like, it was way more than normal. So it made complete sense. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll take that one, period.
Yeah. Stress is one of the biggest factors that can, impact when ovulation happens or doesn't happen. I was just mentioning before we started recording how I had, how I was sick for like 2 weeks straight. I had like this low grade kind of cold crud thing, but it started like the day I was supposed to ovulate and I I didn't. Like, you know, I've got none of the signs and symptoms that I ovulated on time. And so, you know, you can have an abnormal cycle. If you've got something like excess stress or illness. I think, you know, last year has been a really good illustration of how stress affects our cycles. So many women I work with were just like, you know, myself included. It's like, oh, I had a 15-day cycle followed by a 38-day. Like, what is going on here? You know, I'm also on the older side. So it's like every time I'm like, is this the pandemic or is it perimenopause? Like, what's going on? I don't know.
You're always questioning.
Yeah. So, but stress is definitely a common one. I mean, I think a lot of people realize the impact that stress can have on your cycle.
This might be a dumb question, but I feel like some people...
There are no dumb questions.
I know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I feel like some people don't realize they are stressed. So what, like, how can you tell yourself, like, how do you find out besides like the crazy stuff that you know with making you stressed? Is there any signs like throughout the day that can tell you like, hey, you seem a little stressed? Calm down.
Yeah. I swear, if I had $1 for every client who told me they're not stressed and then I saw their lab test that they're like, you know, cortisol is through the roof. I think, you know, I definitely think some of us more high anxiety types tend to come out of the womb a little bit, you know, more high strung than others. And so what feels normal to us might be extreme stress for someone else. Definitely, you know, there are physical signs to look for. There's lab tests, you know, you could check your cortisol and see what that pattern looks like over the course of the day.
Okay.
Generally like feeling that like heart racing, tight chest. That's when you might have, someone might tell you have high blood pressure. That's usually a sign of stress. Sometimes if you're like really, really stressed, like if you ever get in one of those situations where you're maybe like walking down the street through a like not super safe area and you get a little sketched out and like your hands are shaking, like that is a sign. That's like the adrenaline coursing through your body. So lots and lots of signs that you're stressed. Definitely stress can affect your sleep. It can affect your digestion. You know, you might feel kind of like your stomach's in knots when you're under stress. There's like two types of stress eaters. I think there's the stress eaters who are like just kind of like shoving anything in their face for like texture and crunch. Usually it's just like, I just gotta, I'm like a stress not eater. Like my stomach just like shuts down. It's like, nope, can't do it.
Yeah. I do both. So I get there's certain I'm high strung. I'm one of those people that came out of the womb high strung.
She's like dun dun da.
Yeah, I'm like I am here. I will if I'm really super stressed, I will eat. No, if I'm really super stressed, then I don't eat because my stomach's in knots. Yeah. And if I'm like low grade stressed, then I just want to eat everything in sight and I don't care what it is. Okay. So
I always try to, you know, when I'm working from home, I try to give myself an hour break for lunch because I know I'm not going to be able to like sit and eat in that first half hour. I need to take that first half hour to like chill out so that I can like get relaxed enough that I can get food down there, you know?
Yep. What do you do to relax?
Usually like I'll do some breathing exercises. Music is huge for me. I know, you know, there's sort of like the typical recommendations of like do yoga and meditate, but like I personally find I can't meditate when I'm too like my brain is just like going. Yeah. Just like, so breathing, music, you know, I have a few like go to chill out songs that, you know, just kind of like dial it down a notch for me. If I'm really stressed, I get in my car and like crank up the 90s music and like sing really loud. Like I find that to be a huge stress reliever. Yeah.
I noticed, for me, it's like showering and getting ready. Like it's like calming.
Baths.
Yeah. Like those so help. I mean, I haven't had a bath in a long time, but that was nice when I took one.
You don't take baths.
I don't take baths.
I love baths.
You take baths.
I like to sit and chill, and like it kind of really makes me do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I put on a show on my iPad and I just kind of zone out. I watch TV to zone out.
Yeah, you know, I do too. And I'm not afraid to admit it. I find there are so many like healthcare professionals and other, you know, just professional folks who are like, I don't own a TV, or like, I only watch PBS. And I'm like, I watch like Siesta Key because it's the most brainless TV show out there.
I love that show.
It's like I just watch it and I mean, I can feel my brain cells dying, but it's like, it's great. My husband loves Baywatch. Baywatch is his favorite show. And it's just like,
oh my God,
pure enjoyment. You know, it's like, you don't have to think. Yep. I think enough during the day. I don't need to think when I'm watching.
Yep. Oh my God. Because my husband makes fun of me because I'll do reality TV as mine too, you know? And it's normally like MTV, like old school MTV stuff. So I'm watching The Challenge and he's like, why do you watch this shit? And I was like, because my brain is on all day. Leave me alone. I don't need my brain on for this.
Let me shut it off.
Like, it just lets me just chill. Like, I don't even have to think. I'm just like, oh, what? They suck at that. Like, there's nothing like going on else up there. It's so nice.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, if that's what you need to like wind down at night, not going to stop you. I'm going to, you know, for hormone balance, you want to, you know, maybe reduce the effects of the blue light. Right. You know, because that can definitely affect your sleep. But there's like blue light blocking glasses, and you can put night shift mode on your phone and your iPad. You know, just that helps minimize it a little bit, at least. I'm never going to, you know, it would just be unrealistic to tell someone to totally avoid TV or electronics before bed.
Oh, yeah. No, that's how I wind down.
Be too hard. Yeah.
I watch TV as I go to bed because that's how but if I leave the TV on, I forget to do the timer, I will wake up. It'll wake me up.
Yeah, I think you remind me of like my old school, like my mom and dad would have like the timers on to like let it drop. Because for me, it's literally like show's over, turn it off, turn off my phone, boom.
Oh, no.
And then I count and then I go to sleep.
I count.
Also, and I don't know why this is, but also like the murder shows are like so relaxing at night. It's like, you know, the Dateline and Criminal Minds. Like I watch all that stuff before bed.
Oh, that's funny.
I have very vivid dreams. And whatever I'm watching typically somehow gets into my dreams. So like I saw Halloween on Friday night and I totally had Michael Myers in my dreams. So, I mean, he didn't scare me in my dreams, but it's still, he was there. I saw him behind the bush.
Did you see the new one yet? Was that the one you watched?
Yeah, the brand new one. How
was it?
It was really good. I super enjoyed it. Like it was some really good jump scares, and I got yourself there. I was very impressed.
Nope.
So, I just watched the movies that made us, and they just showed us how Halloween was made. So it even made it better for me because I'm like, yeah. And just, I know this is totally a side note, but just FYI, the very first Michael Myers was just like a side prop guy that just walked around. He just was the director just told him like, go over there, look up, don't move. Cool. And that's all he had to do, just walk around everywhere. I was like, funny. This is hilarious. It wasn't an actor. It was just like a stunt guy that did the whole thing. Yeah.
I was in New Orleans over the weekend and there was a guy walking around in Michael Myers and he was just like walking up to the windows and like looking in at people, like sitting at restaurants and stuff. It was real creepy.
Yeah.
My boyfriend was like, hey, look at that guy. He's right by the window. And I'm like, nope. Nope, not doing it. Nope. And people were like taking pictures of him, like behind people. Like it was no. I was like,
No, I would have kept him at bay, but like, no, you're not going to get to me.
He was across the street.
Yeah.
You
ain't getting me, sir. Yeah. I know all your tricks. Watched all your movies. I got
Have you done one of those haunted tours in New Orleans? Those are so cool.
She won't go to one.
No, I want to go. I love the cemeteries, but only in the daylight. There was a certain spot that we walked down and there were no lights because they're doing a lot of construction down there. And it was real creepy.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I was walking a little quicker through that section.
But you were.
There were
That
no
adrenaline going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
Fight or
okay,
flight
all
hormones,
right,
yeah.
cool. Yep.
See, and that's the thing is like realizing like, oh, those are my hormones telling my body you need to get the hell out of this room. Like,
Yeah, you need to be quick about
and
this.
I think that's the deal is like no one really knows what hormones actually do. We just know that they're there.
Yeah,
So
pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's, and I think so many people are just like think they have a hormone imbalance. And, I do think that hormone imbalances are more common now than they used to be. I also think we talk about them more than we did before. You tell your girlfriends everything now. And, I see a lot more women being diagnosed at younger ages because the moms who are our age are like so on top of things. So it's like if there's anything abnormal, they are taking them into the GYN and they're getting that diagnosis at 16 now, which is great because it's like, oh, like you've got your whole life to figure out how to manage this,
That's awesome.
that is amazing. Well, good props on those mamas.
Yes. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm always like, go mom.
Can you go into a little bit more about gut health?
Yeah.
Yeah. So gut is really like the root of everything. Once we make hormones, we have to get rid of them. We get rid of the excess. And the way we do that, it's a 3-step process. And so the first 2 steps happen in our liver where, the used up hormones get kind of packaged up so that they're safe to dispose of in our stool. And so they go into our intestines so they can exit the body. So that's the 3rd phase. Phase 3 equals poop, basically.
Okay.
Poop is important.
So what happens if you don't have a great digestive health, if you have constipation or diarrhea, or you have inflammation or absorption issues, you can end up having like more circulating hormones in your body than you should because you're not getting rid of them through your gut, which is one of your biggest detox organs.
Okay.
And so if our gut's not working, then we tend to see all these toxins start to try to escape other ways. And mostly I see that through the skin because the skin is also a major detox organ. We detox, toxins and excess, materials go out through our sweat. So good gut health is crucial to good hormone health. We can't have good gut health we can't have good hormone health without good gut health. And unfortunately, I do see quite a bit of overlap with, some functional gut disorders and PCOS. So much higher incidence of IBS-C, IBS-D, heartburn, indigestion, heartburn, much more common with PCOS, gallbladder issues. There's actually a connection between high estrogen and gallbladder issues. So a lot of the women I've worked with have had gallbladder surgery. PCOS also causes or can cause non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So if your liver gets kind of gunked up, it can't do its job as well. And then you're not clearing those hormones and toxins as well as you should. Yeah, gut health's really everything. Usually the next question is, well, should we take a probiotic or what do you recommend for good gut health? And, I do use probiotics in my practice, but I use them like very specific strains for very specific conditions. And we try to do them short term. Okay. Ideally, you don't need to take a probiotic because you're eating all the things that support good gut health, which is, a high fiber diet, darkly colored fruits and vegetables, all those good things. Probiotics are like the live bacteria. When you see like on a container of yogurt where it says live active cultures, like that's got probiotics, fermented foods, prebiotics, which are like a special type of fiber that feed your good gut bacteria. But there's actual studies that the gut bacteria in women with PCOS is different than the gut bacteria in other women. And like there was a crazy study where they took poop from a woman with PCOS and they implanted it into mice. And the mice developed symptoms of PCOS. They got the polycystic ovaries, they got the irregular cycles. So just giving them the bacteria that was in the women with PCOS, the mice got PCOS.
Wow.
Which is, they're actually I was just looking at some of the more recent research too. And there was a study on fecal transplants as a treatment for PCOS. So taking stool from a healthy female and giving it to someone with PCOS to treat it.
I can give you my poop.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know. We don't know if I have PCOS. I mean, everything she's saying is pointing to yes, but we don't have acknowledgement on that. Or
we don't because of I think why people probably haven't diagnosed you or gone through it further is because they don't know if it's lupus that isn't affecting some of the things too.
Yeah.
And your RA and the fibro. There's just.
Thank you, autoimmune diseases, for making my life so much better.
Those symptoms can be hiding and all that jazz.
Yeah, really.
Do you see a lot of autoimmune diseases with people that have PCOS?
Not a lot, but I do see, the most common one really is the Hashimoto's. Okay. I see a handful with Graves, but it's mostly the Hashimoto's. Those are really the big ones. I don't really see, again, I'm sure you've done digging into the autoimmune conditions and what helps those, but that all goes back to gut health too. It's you gotta have a nice healthy gut that's not leaking so that your immune system stops freaking out.
Yeah. I have found that if I have more sugar in my diet, my body freaks out more than if I'm more on a more protein based, which is
perfect for us.
Thank you, weight loss surgery, for that. But more protein based, more, fiber based, those things together, my body tends to freak out less.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, and everybody's body is different. So it's what's going to fuel you is going to be a little bit different than everybody else. And I think because of us always trying to compare and see who's doing what, it's we don't all have to eat the same thing. And so we get nervous if we're not eating the same thing as someone else. I notice I used to get that anxiety being oh, they're going to see my food and but I'm not eating the same thing as them. So then there's going to be this whole conversation. But
or the amount too. If somebody eats, so if I eat more than Melanie, there's something wrong with me. And that's not the case because everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's pouch is a little bit different.
Exactly.
Yeah, that, but also, you both have different nutrient needs and goals and backgrounds and lifestyles, although it does sound like you spend a lot of time together.
We do.
But it's, and you're going to have different triggers too. Some people do fine with certain foods, others not so much. And PCOS is actually a lot the same, as that in terms of bariatric surgery, and the recommendations and what you end up following, one person's PCOS diet is going to look totally different from another person's PCOS diet because one person might have more insulin resistance, where for the other person, it might be more gut issues and inflammation. And then a third person, it might be almost entirely adrenal. So, the plans are going to look very different based on what's going on. But also, we all come from different cultures, have different food access. We live in different areas where, food is just different.
Yeah. I agree.
I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly it. We're all very different human beings.
Yeah.
And we need to realize that one case study or one pair of stats is not going to be the same for every single person.
Yeah. I think the comparison is just a problem.
Yeah.
Because we just need to look at ourselves.
It's really, individuality is cool. Like we react differently to things. And some of it has to do with that gut microbiome that I was talking about before, because, it affects how you process carbohydrates or fats in your system. And I actually was just looking at some data from 2 different people who ate the same meal and seeing what they're, wearing the continuous glucose monitor so they could see what their blood sugar was doing. And, 2 people, same exact meal, like measured down to the teaspoon, and like 2 totally different reactions in terms of what their blood sugar did after eating that meal. Yeah. It's, we don't know, you don't really know without, I personally think it would be cool to be like wearing monitors all the time and like just be getting that like biofeedback all the time and be like, oh, nope, that lunch didn't work for me. Let me see how tomorrow's lunch does. But
we just got some glucose sensors that we are going to be using.
Oh, cool.
Yes. So we are super excited to see what works food wise and what doesn't work, and then kind of tailor that to ourselves, because that's exactly what you're saying. We don't know what foods are causing us to have a slide down or, keep us going.
I'm excited for you. I got to wear one for about a week as part of a study. And unfortunately, like I had to eat some sort of weird controlled foods as part of the study. So I didn't get to like experiment with my own foods as much, but like, I totally I was always saying like beans are like not enough protein to keep your blood sugar stable. And I totally bite my tongue after seeing this. Cause like the best meal I had the whole time I was wearing it was a can of Amy's lentil soup. And like my blood sugar, like it went up, it stayed in the like perfect level. It didn't spike and it stayed, continuous. It was like a perfect meal for me. So now I'm like, oh, maybe I should eat more beans.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I love beans.
I do too. I had some last night for dinner. Not gonna lie.
Lentils are a good food for me, apparently. So.
Well, that's good. It's good because you figured that out. So it's like we can't get enough information.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we first started interviewing doctors, surgeons, we were always wanting those numbers. We were always like, well, how many carbs should we be eating? How much protein? And they would always give us these vague numbers. And we were like, but we want to know exact numbers. And they're like, but we can't give you that because everybody's different. Yeah. And so now we're starting to like get that no two people are alike. So,
well, and I think like, so this is totally random, but like my kid is lactose intolerant. And, we found that out through the process of eliminating foods and all these things, but then like he gets made fun of for it. And I'm just like, he can't control it. I don't understand why people even care, but that's kind of like the world we live in is like when we finally figure out like our food allergy, like we make fun of people that have gluten allergies. We make fun of people for peanut allergies and the whole, like even with my kid with the lactose intolerance, like why people, there's always something that they want to like make fun of you for, even with the weight loss surgery that it's too easy or whatever their stupidness is. And it's like, why can't it just be individual? Like, why do we have to care about the bigger group?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you spend any time on social media at all, you know how mean people are. They're just bullies just to be bullies sometimes.
Yep. Exactly. So with the PCOS, how do people say that I got diagnosed with PCOS, how would I start working with you?
Oh, nice.
What's the process of that?
Yeah, my one-on-one wait list is long. It's very, very long. My course is always open. So, you could go to my website. It's thehormonedietitian.com and you can click on course and learn more about that. There's actually a free workshop that you can watch to learn more about that. It's called PCOS Period Success. It's about an hour-long webinar where I talk about 3 simple diet shifts that you can make to start getting your periods back. But it explains about my methods and what I do. And then the course is a 6-week program that's always open. So it's open for enrollment all the time. And then I do, if you find that you need more support and accountability, you can do the course in conjunction with group coaching, which I do twice a year. So we do a small group of women, and we're on Zoom, and we, get to know each other and, get some personalization and, coaching through the program. The one-on-one, I keep saying I don't know. My husband's in education. And so, with so much uncertainty still, I still kind of every day I'm expecting him to come home and say oh, we're virtual again. And I'm like, oh, great. There goes my business, So I don't feel comfortable committing, but hopefully soon, I will be taking some new one-on-one clients. I do kind of a little quick hit program that's called the PCOS Answers program. Because I find, what I teach in the course, and I teach you all of the tests that I recommend that you get and how to address things if they're unbalanced. But I find that a lot of times women still struggle with getting those tests from their doctors. Their doctors just aren't willing to run them, or they're not able to do it. So I do this program where I take you on as a client. We do a full assessment. So it's all copacetic. I order whatever tests you need, and then we get those answers for you. And then you get my personal interpretation and recommendation.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah, it's a little mini package of 2 visits with me, but I'm able to look at your medical history and do all those things that, are necessary for safety, like checking what medications you're on and what your medical history is before we, look at any sort of personalized recommendations.
That's fantastic.
What kind of tests should we ask our doctors to run? Just if I want to go in, what would I ask?
Yeah. So for, if you were looking to be diagnosed with PCOS, you'd be looking at some hormone testing, maybe an ultrasound to look for those cysts on your ovaries, androgen levels to see, what those are doing. If you've been diagnosed with PCOS, then the kind of things you want to monitor are around the insulin resistance, inflammation, and those other hormone levels like thyroid. Most people haven't had a full thyroid panel. They've just kind of had TSH done. It's really kind of thorough testing. I typically, there's a few nutrients I always take a peek at with PCOS. I look at B12 and vitamin D, both of which are important after bariatric surgery as well, but those tend to be low with PCOS as well. I look at cholesterol levels and inflammation. There's a lot of tests we can do. Whether you're able to get them from your doctors is a whole nother question. I also have a book. So the book, my cookbook came out last year, and it may not be super appropriate for all people with bariatric surgery, just because I do tend to recommend a very high fiber, very high vegetable diet. So, but you could customize. I use about a quarter of the plate for carbs as a starting point. So, you could customize and play around with it. But it's a balanced approach to PCOS, and it's 16 weeks of PCOS meal plan recipes. Obviously, my Instagram, I share a ton of info there, and I'm launching my podcast. I don't know what day. Yeah, I don't know what day. I know, breaking the news. I don't know what day you're planning on releasing this episode, but my podcast will launch on November 16th, and it is called Hormonally Yours with the hormone dietitian.
That's congratulations.
Exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's a long time coming, and you just have to decide to do it and then just do it.
He's got to pull the trigger.
That's what we did.
Yep. Just go all in and
We were
don't.
like, all right, cool. We're here.
And don't stop. That will be my one big advice is that no matter what gets thrown at you, just keep going. Yeah. Just keep going.
Well, I am paying people to launch it and manage it. So
Good.
yeah, they are keeping me on task in terms of like, okay, we've got schedules and deadlines and I've got things I've got to get done by certain days. So
while running a full-time business. Yeah. You are a busy lady.
Honestly, that was how I got my course done too. I wanted to put together a PCOS course for so long. And it took me a full year from deciding like, okay, I'm going to do this to like actually doing it. And honestly, the only way I was able to do it was I pre-sold it. I did a Black Friday pre-sale. And then I was like, oh shit, like people bought this. Like now I need to actually make it, you know? So it made me like make it, you know?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, sometimes you have to just throw an idea out to the universe and just see what grabs. And if it grabs, and that's what you should do, man.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we did.
Well, congratulations on that. That's exciting. We can't wait to listen.
I'm the type of person I make decisions really quick. And then once I've made it, I'm like, I'm in.
Yep.
You know,
That's amazing.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll go to sleep one night and be like, I think tomorrow I'm going to buy a car. And then I go out and buy a car.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how you got your car.
Yep. That is. Yeah. Yep. Or I'll just drive by a car lot and be like, hey, I like that car.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go in and just buy the car.
There you go.
That's how I live my life.
I love it.
I can relate to that. And like, honestly, 99.9% of the time things work out fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much.
No.
Well, because normally like we just talk ourselves out of things and we just worry. When if we just did it, it would have already been done and then you'd be happy and not be stressing about it anymore. So
exactly.
I'm one of those people when I'm lost, when I'm driving and I'm lost, I drive faster. Cause it's like, if I can, you know that I'm going the wrong direction, then I'll like, faster, then I can turn around and like do what I need to do. But like anytime I've ever been pulled over, it's because I'm lost. And I'm just like,
so funny. That's hysterical. I always slow down.
Yeah, I slow down too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a slow downer.
The slow downer.
The slow downer. Well,
yeah, I'm like, let me just drive 100 more miles this way just to make sure I'm lost.
Yeah. Let's get this concrete in. Okay, I'm lost. We're good.
You guys are hilarious. Oh my goodness. Is there anything that we missed that you think that the audience should know or that we should go over?
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to talk a little bit about the fact that, oftentimes weight loss surgery can be proposed as like the cure-all for PCOS. And, people say all the time, well, just lose weight and your PCOS symptoms will go away.
Right.
And it's not the case. I mean, yes, there's some evidence that losing like 5% of your body weight can, have a positive effect on some of your symptoms and your, lab tests.
Yeah.
But, what I see in my practice and what tends to happen is, someone will have had the surgery and will have lost, the significant amount of weight and realize that, this sounds like you, it sounds like, the cycles never come back in a regular way. And they're still struggling with the symptoms they were struggling with before the surgery, like the hair loss and the acne and, some of the other things that they're dealing with. And it's like, okay, well now the weight's gone. So it's like, it's not the weight causing the problem. So like what's causing it? And that's where, then we take a step back and work on some of those things that were causing the weight. Cause I view weight as a symptom, just like all of the other symptoms. So, same thing that was causing the excess weight is causing the acne and the irregular cycles. And so we, have to go back and work on, balancing blood sugar. And I do think, the post-bariatric, diet can be really helpful for PCOS because there is such an emphasis on protein, which helps balance blood sugar. And, you end up reducing carbs a lot of times because you can't tolerate them, but also because there's just not room for all that extra stuff.
Yep.
we kind of get into a weird place with fiber because we often can't get in what I would recommend for women who hadn't had the surgery, the level of fiber that I would recommend, which is typically like 30 to 35 grams a day, which just isn't going to be possible after surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. So really that's my main thing. I think, I've definitely the women I've worked with who've had the surgery don't regret it. They just wish that they had known it wasn't going to completely eliminate their PCOS symptoms.
Got it. Wow.
Ooh, that's a huge deal to have to deal with that and not know. Like, I think that's probably a lot of people's, because I know for me, a lot of the other folks that we just think it's our own fault why we're gaining weight and not understanding what's going on. And then realizing after the fact, oh, it's because I have PCOS. Like, I don't have it. But just saying like when you find out though, that would be like, it's probably a relief and disappointing at the same time. Cause you're like, the healthcare is not working for you, but now it wasn't you, like your fault. Like it's not your fault at all for that happening.
Yeah. I think, and I'm sure you talk a lot about the implications of weight loss on the show and, how it makes you feel and, the sort of after effects when it comes to like mood and body image and all of that. I'm sure you go way in depth on that here. I think and there, are obviously like very valid reasons why women decide to have the surgery. And so they're, the weight loss in itself is a goal for many of them. And so, I think it's that idea that like, if you just lose weight, all your symptoms will be better. That's like not true, and that's the part that can be disappointing because that narrative is definitely promoted out there in conventional medicine, where it's like you're doing something wrong and like you have to lose this weight. And so you do it. And then it's like, you're still in the same place symptoms wise,
That'd be so disheartening. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's definitely, I get angry on behalf of women with PCOS all the time because it's just like we can do so much more with nutrition and lifestyle than what doctors are telling you. We
can do better as a community.
Yeah.
To promote
and bring awareness and care about each other and talk about it.
Yeah.
Because that's the deal is everyone's like scared to talk about their periods. Like it's insane. It's interesting though. I can tell that it's getting better because I have a niece that is 13 going through the full cycles. And when I pick her up, I take her and my son to school and she'll just start talking about it. No problem. My son doesn't even blink an eye. And I'm just like, oh, this would have been nice 30 years ago.
Oh my God. My mom handed me a book and left and came back and was like, you don't have any questions, do you? Like about, like it was a book about like sex and periods. And it's like, that's what being a girl in the 80s was like, where now, I don't know. I think because it's like women my age and your age who are moms, it's like, we want to be able to talk about these things with our daughters, Yeah,
I'm very open. Like we talk about all the things, even with Dylan, I learn all the boy stuff. And but it's so interesting to see the flip side of the coin because they are still emotional and all the hormones are changing and they don't know why either. So it's like, they have no signal like what we have like with the period, like, this is what's happening to your body. And Dylan will be like, why am I crying? I'm not sad. And I'm like, oh, give me a hug. Cause I know exactly what's going on now.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm glad that we finally had you on because this is super important to learn about like hormones and how it works in your body.
Yes. I am super excited. I'm going to get tested.
Yes.
All right.
It's on my list.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes.
I definitely will. And we will keep you updated on our glucose monitoring too.
Yeah. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Cool. I'm so excited to see. I'm sure you'll do an episode after you're done.
Oh yeah. But we're going to have to.
We're going to have all the information. So
I did do a blog post about my experience. On my website, which is thehormonedietitian.com. And if you go to my Zoe test review, it was part of I wore it as part of the Zoe test. So, so you get to kind of see like my results and like how I was kind of shocked.
Oh, yeah, we'll check
That's
it out so that we
awesome.
can be prepared.
All right. Well, if everybody wants to see this episode, you can go on to patreon.com/OSLP and pick the tier. It's $10 or higher, and they get all the videos before everybody else does. And they get their own exclusive video every week of me and Kelly just shooting the shit and telling you what's going on. Yeah. And then we also have the benchies that come included, where you get to hang out with us all day long in a support group. We talk to you on Facebook Messenger. There's about 60 people now, and it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Yes.
We enjoy it so very much.
So much.
And we enjoy getting to know you guys all a little bit better.
Yeah, because we send voice messages, we send pictures, photos. It's a lot of fun. So come join us over there. And we want to thank you again for being with us, Melissa. And
yes,
we love you guys.
And we will see you
next time. Bye.